you can have a car that's quick and you can have a car that's electric, but having one that's both is how you make electric cars popular.
In 2006, a startup that went by the name of Tesla Motors managed to single-handedly change the way we see electric cars by promising a powerful, fully electric sports car with an unprecedented range. In 2008, the first Roadsters were delivered to customers, thus fulfilling Tesla's promise. In the coming years, we saw the release of Model S, X, 3 and Y, which all neatly fit Elon Musk's plan. Today, we see more and more startups popping up that claim to be the new revolutionary thing in electric mobility. A new concept of a Tesla killer with unseen power and range, or a space-age electric truck, seems to be created at least a few times a year. But so far, in the 17 years since Tesla was founded, no one has managed to even come close to their success. So, why can't anyone beat Tesla? Why have so many projects failed? What does it take to make a successful electric vehicle? Back in 2008, Tesla made the first desirable battery-powered car that could actually rival gas-powered cars in its segment. Before that, we had mostly only seen cars like the GVs, GM's EV1 and other weird-looking subpar products that, in my opinion, steered people away from electric cars instead of giving us a viable alternative for internal combustion engines. It took Tesla 2 years to create the first prototype, another 2 years to actually start the production, and hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. And they weren't even building the Roadster all by themselves. The chassis were supplied by Lotus, panels were made by Sotira from France, and the gearbox came from Borg Warner. All this to create a little more than 2,000 cars for early adopters. As of March 2021, Tesla is still the only startup that has managed to actually build a range of street-legal EV models and deliver them to customers all over the world. Based on what Tesla has been doing for all of these years, we can see that launching a completely new battery-powered car only takes a few things. A lot of money, at least a few years of time, a product that's different or better than its competition, a charging infrastructure, and much more money. To create any product, you need to invest money in research and development. A lot of times companies don't disclose how much they've pumped into a project, but here are some numbers from those who do. Dyson had invested around $500 million in the Dyson EV before cancelling it due to not being commercially viable. The plan was to invest more than £2 billion in developing a radical and different electric vehicle. The project was launched in 2016 and employed more than 500 workers. Rivian is backed by huge companies like Amazon and Ford, and they've managed to raise more than $5 billion in funding in the last couple of years alone. We should be seeing the first production cars from them sometime this year. And of course, when talking about EV startups, I have to mention XPeng. They've secured a credit line of almost $2 billion in January and sold $1.5 billion worth of shares last year. VW plans to spend around $66 billion between 2020 and 2024. They have already launched their ID.4 in the autumn of 2020, and soon we'll see a bunch of other new electric people's cars from them. GM is also putting a lot of effort into an electric future and plans to spend around $20 billion by 2025. Ford is involved in a whole bunch of stuff. They partnered up with VW to get access to the Volkswagen MEB platform, invested $500 million in Rivian, and on top of that, they've invested in building their own EVs like the Mustang Mach-E. Tesla's first real production car was the Model S. It launched in 2012, approximately 3 years after the first prototype was revealed. The VW ID concept took around 4 years to become the ID.3. Renault presented the Zoe city car concept all the way back in 2005, then another concept car after 4 years, and then another a year after. The production of the Zoe began in 2012. 7 years and 3 concept presentations after the initial idea of a small electric city car from Renault was presented to the world. In general, every time a new battery-powered car, especially from a startup, shows up in the news, just remember, it'll probably take years before an actual production model will reach customers. For example, Rivian has been in existence since 2009, so when they say that there will be a car ready sometime in 2021, it seems kinda realistic. Arrival also seems like an interesting company. They've created a manufacturing process based on what they call microfactories. Founded in 2015 and backed by UPS, who have already placed an order for 10,000 vans from them, it seems that we'll see the first electric UPS van in the streets very soon. If a company's goal is to set itself apart from all of the ever-growing competition, it's not enough to just take an existing car where its gas or diesel engine has been swapped for an electric one. For a long time, Tesla has been years ahead of others when it comes to speed, range, and self-driving tech. I've put Tesla models and other standout cars in this timeline to visualize my point. Roadster was the first lithium-ion powered production car with unseen specs for an EV. Basically, nothing like this had ever been done at the time, and there simply was no competition. Nissan Leaf got released to the masses in 2010. Compact, a bit weird looking thing, but basically the first real production EV from an established brand. Estimated range was 117 kilometers, so it could probably transport a small family around town for a bit, given that it can be charged every time you park it for a longer time. In 2012, Tesla launched its Model S. The base model had 362 horsepower, EPA range of 334 kilometers, and was the first and only electric premium sedan at the time. Want an alternative to the Leaf? Wait one more year. 2013. Renault launches its Zoe with 87 horsepower and a pretty good range. A fun little city car with enough battery capacity to carry you both to your desired destination and back. And after 2 years of teasing us with their concept, BMW released the i3, which was different from any other BMW in every way possible. Around this time we saw a bunch of new compliance cars. In other words, electric versions of already existing models or just plain meh weak cars that were built with the sole purpose of meeting various government mandates for producing more eco-friendly cars. Honorable mentions: the E-Up and Ford Focus Electric. 2014. Model S gets equipped with the first version of Tesla's Autopilot. This means that the car now had a front-facing camera and a bunch of sensors that provided a 360-degree view around the car, enabling it to detect road signs, lane markings, obstacles, other vehicles, and do automatic lane changes. By that time, there were plenty of premium cars equipped with adaptive cruise control, but none of them could do all of the things that Tesla could. 2015. Tesla Model X, an all-electric premium SUV with flagship-worthy specs and wings. Do I need to say more? 2 more years go by and we finally get an affordable Tesla with 380 kilometers of range, 283 horsepower and a base model price of less than $40,000 in the USA. More power, more tech and a lower price than a BMW 530. Okay, but what about the competition? Well, GM launched the Chevrolet Bolts and Nissan started the production of the second generation of Leaf that year. 2018. Jaguar I-Pace. Finally, a contender in the premium SUV segment with 377 kilometers of range and almost 400 horsepower. A smaller alternative to the Model X. Now, in the last couple of years, things have gotten a little bit more interesting. 3 years after unveiling the concept, Audi released their first EV, the e-tron. This means that you now have 3 options for premium crossovers: Model X, I-Pace and the Audi. The USA price for the Audi is a bit misleading because in Europe the base version price is closer to $73,000. One more significant car was released this year, the second generation Zoe. Last year, on top of an impressive number of pretty good electric versions of standard models from established brands, we saw the release of 2 cars that could possibly mark a turning point for electric mobility in the automobile market. Volkswagen started deliveries of the ID.4. This car marked the point in the company's history when it actually starts to seriously identify itself with electric cars. And soon VW will have to compete against Tesla with its ID.4 crossover, because in a market situation where crossovers are all the rage, Tesla started delivering a somewhat affordable crossover to their customers, the Model Y. Its autonomous driving tech, power and energy efficiency is the best in that segment, but let's compare it to some other electric family cars launched in 2020. For example, let's look at what we can get in Norway. Well, the Model Y is again kinda in a league of its own here. Sure, it's a bit more expensive than the other available cars, but you get what you pay for. The specs speak for themselves. Ford Mustang Mach-E is similar both in price and size. But by the time it reaches customers all around the world, some of its target audience may be already happily driving around in their Teslas. 2021. This is where we are now. Renault Zoe is the most sold EV in Europe because it's awesome. Audi has promised us a couple of new premium cars. BMW is selling hybrids, and on top of that, it's only a matter of time until Chinese companies start selling their EVs in the USA and Europe. XPeng are already offering their G3 in Norway. Tesla has been building their supercharger stations since 2012, which means that they launched their first car alongside their charging network. They have more charging stations and more experience with building them worldwide than any other legacy car maker, and on top of that, their plugs are different to the ones on most of the other cars. If you buy any other EV, then you may have to do some research on what type of charger plug does your car have, where can it be charged and how fast. Not very convenient. Eventually, in the upcoming years, the whole world will probably settle on some variant of a combined charging system, but until then, unless you buy a Tesla, you kinda get a mix of older and newer charging stations with sockets and charging speeds that in some cases may not be suitable for you. Because of Dieselgate, Volkswagen is spending $2 billion in electric charging infrastructure to electrify America. In Europe, they plan to create 36,000 charging points either themselves or through partnerships, which is crucial to the success of their model line in the future. Developing a car and taking care of charging points is just the start of the EV company's journey. Adding models to the lineup to stay ahead, building factories, investing in even more R&D and charging points takes more and more money each year. Just look at Tesla's expenses. And despite being the only successful EV startup, Tesla hasn't had a profitable year up to this day. Morgan Stanley analysts have said that it would take about $180 billion for Tesla to reach its goals of producing 10 million electric vehicles annually. Sounds ambitious, especially if you consider their last year's sales numbers. Just to put it in perspective, in 2020, the whole VW group sold around 5.4 million passenger cars and Toyota sold less than 9 million. The financial reality of launching a new EV is harsh. Tesla has the benefit of having huge funding, more experience than any other company in this field, tech features that most other companies cannot offer, and the benefit of being an electric-only company. With the amount of money that the big guys of the auto industry like Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford and GM have to spend on their existing model lineups in order for them to stay competitive and to meet the ever so tighter emission standards, alongside the billions and billions needed for EV and charging network development, it's no wonder that no one has actually made a globally available EV that's better suited for everyday use than Tesla. That's it for me this time. If you liked this video, show your support by pressing the like button and subscribe to the channel to not miss future uploads. If your opinion differs from mine or maybe I've missed something, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and see you later.